On record. Good. All right. So hi, I'm Tim Colopy, Mayor of the Village of Millbrook, and this is the March 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Village Board of Trustees. Tonight is our fourth budget meeting for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sarah, could you just do a roll call for the trustees, for the record?
Mayor Colopy,
Here.
Trustee Herzog,
Here.
Trustee Contino,
Here.
Trustee Arbogast.
Okay. So tonight we're going to see the revenue story that Karen and Sarah put together, and they're going to see a comparison of the revenue totals versus all the expense totals, all for the general fund, the A fund. So with that, Karen is sharing the ledger, and take it away, Karen.
Okay, thank you, Tim. So we'll start to go through the revenues. The real property tax 1001 is going to be the tax levy. So as we go through our calculations, this number may change. Heading down to real property tax interest and penalty. This is interest and penalty on taxes. And we do get a lot of this in April 1st when the county makes us whole on our taxes that we re-levied. So this will increase. Non-property tax distribution is our Dutchess County quarterly sales tax.
So Karen, your audio is fading in and out a lot.
Oh.
Ironically, Sarah's audio,
Okay.
which is usually not that good, has been great.
All
So
right,
far.
is this better?
That's better, yes.
I'll just speak louder.
Okay, good.
Okay, so real property tax interest and penalty, that will come in, we'll have additional come in April when we're made whole by the county for taxes that we re-levied. Going down to the non-property tax distribution, this is we received this from Dutchess County. This is the quarterly sales tax. And we did get those figures from Dutchess County in advance. So we know that this 56,000 is a better budget number than what was budgeted last year.
Okay.
Utilities gross receipts tax, although this seems low, we do get around $18,000 from Central Hudson, but we don't get that until mid-April. So we feel that's a good number. Franchise fees, I think 38,000 is a more realistic number. Franchise fees is our cable franchise, our contract with our cable. So, and we've received 38,288. So I think 38,000 is a good number for that.
Okay.
Police fees, we brought that down to a more realistic number. And then let's see, we have another police fees in here, but I think this is for like special events. So this may pick back up this year if things open up.
Yeah, that's special events and court.
Okay.
Vital statistics, $250. Zoning fees, we're at 900. So being conservative, we budgeted 1,000 for that. Same with planning board fees, we're at 600. And we budgeted 1,200 because we still have April and May to go for people coming in front of the planning board. The fire contract, this is a moving targeted number as well, as it's based on the fire department's budget and all of their expenses. So this we calculated But if anything changes in the fire department, that number will be recalculated. If I go down a couple of these are interest and earnings. And given the Fed has chosen to keep the rate between 0 and 0.25 basis points, it's probably going to be that way for a while. So I don't anticipate that we're going to really be making a lot of interest in earnings on our reserve accounts. And so those numbers are kind of a little more realistically reflected in what we're earning now on that.
Okay.
Rental of the village hall, we did get confirmation from the town of Washington that we will be receiving that $10,000. What has been a little bit of a kind of a blow to our revenue is not receiving the Thorn Trust income. On the other hand, we won't be having the Thorn Trust expense, but we will no longer be receiving that $12,000. So rental of the water tower. This is the cell rentals, and this is 72,000 is a good estimate for that. Building permits and fees. We've received 15,000 already. We feel it's pretty safe to anticipate 14,000. We still have, again, April and May, and we're kind of coming into to people starting to do projects and get things going. We reduced the fines and forfeitures. This is the money that we receive from the town of Washington court for when our tickets and stuff go up to the state and they get distributed back. But given that we've only collected 625 so far, and we really don't know what the year is going to be, we're being conservative and only budgeting 1,000 for that. Some of these other items are one-shot deals that we don't really budget. We wouldn't budget for a gift or donation or unclassified. What is kind of nice is this AIM-related payments. This is New York State aid. Now, last year we didn't know where we were with that, and we didn't know if we were going to receive it, so we didn't budget for it. But we did get confirmation that the village will be receiving the $9,185 in the coming year. So, so that's an exact estimate on that one. State aid and mortgage tax. Mortgage tax is doing well right now in a lot of these smaller communities that people are moving to. So we've already received 16,500. And for the mortgage tax, we received this when did we receive this? In June and December. And then for chips, this is the 82,000. This is the same amount that we budget for on the expense side, and whatever we spend for chips, we get reimbursed. Hopefully, at the 100%. I'm not sure where that's at right now, but for our budgeting purposes, we do match that and budget the same amount as that expense. So,
Okay, and by the way, so the last year we just got 80% of what we requested for chips. So do we know that we're gonna get 100% or we don't know yet?
we don't know yet.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're gonna. Bob, have you heard anything?
No, nothing. I haven't heard a thing.
Yeah.
Where do we go to ask? Who do we ask for that?
You can go to your regional, to DOT, the regional, whoever, Bob, whoever you work with in DOT.
Yeah,
You can,
Do you have a contact, Bob, or is there somebody I should call?
yeah, I have a couple people I
Do
can
you?
call. Yeah,
All right. All right, so will you do that just so we have an idea? Just, I don't want to put in the full 82,000. In other words, we should really put in 80% of whatever, if it is 80%.
if you plan on using all of it this year.
Yeah, right. But I'm saying whatever we plan to use, if it's still only 80% reimbursement, we should just put in 80% of that number here.
Correct. Yep.
Well, okay, so Bob, if you make a contact, or if you find out that I should call somebody, please let me know.
Okay.
All right. So Karen, go to the top, the tax levy. Could you explain to me one more time what you said about that? So we're at 991.
So the way the way we calculated this or estimated this so far is that Sarah and I went online to the New York State tax cap, and we put in last year's levy, and then we had $501 of a rollover, so we were able to put that in. So our tax levy limit came out to 991,561. So for our budget purposes, we plugged in 991,500. And then if you bear with me, I'm going to scroll down to the calculation page. And show you that the expenses minus the revenue divided by our tax assessed valuation gives us our tax rate. So at this moment right now,
Mhm.
we need to either increase revenue or decrease expenses by 34,617 to stay under the tax cap.
Okay, and by the way, the numbers that are here have included nothing for salary increases. So
Correct.
we still have to, we just have to cut that. All right, any questions about the revenue that Karen presented? Mike or Vicky?
No, I'm good.
Okay, fine. So then let's go through the expenses. And the idea is going to be that we're short, what'd you say, 40,000, something like that?
34,617.
Okay, so we got to find 34,617 plus whatever we want to do as far as salary increases. And I estimated before, it's 5,000 per percent roughly. So if we wanted to give a 2% increase, I think, and I asked Karen to verify this, but this is my back of the envelope estimate. If we want to give a 2% increase, we need to find $10,000 more dollars on top of what she just said, or 3%, $15,000 more dollars. Okay. So that's what we're going to be thinking of as we go through this. All right, so let's go through the expenses. Not a lot of gory detail, but just basically highlight the sum totals, maybe. And then we'll discuss about any options we can identify to figure out how we can cut some expenses. All right, actually, maybe I can just go through this. So the first one is the village board. And that's basically no change from last year. So let's move on there. And the mayor, no change. All right. And then the clerk treasurer. All right, so here's where we've made changes from the last meeting. I've asked each of the areas, clerk, deputy clerk, Bob with the highway, Jared with the police, to put in their personal services line the current salaries plus the percent expected overtime for next year. So therefore, let's just take the first one. That's Sarah. So her budget is 52.2 is her salary for this year. That's without overtime. And what she's showing is if she does her projected overtime for next year, which is about 10%, their baseline is 57.8. All right. And so when we talk about salary increase, we got to look at what the increase would be to that number right there, the 57.8. Okay. You're going to see the same thing for all the other ones. All right. So there's deputy clerk, there's Nicole. Her base salary is 46.8 this year. And with a projected increase of projected overtime, which is about 6%, it looks like, her baseline is 49.8. Okay. And we're going to see that for all the others, for Bob's salary, for Jared's salary, all the way through. So just go back up a minute.
Sure.
Go back up to the summary for the clerk treasurer. There's the 112 goes to 119,700. That's basically by adding in the overtime. All right. Any questions, Mike or Vicky?
Not so far.
Okay, fine. Go ahead, Karen. All right, so the attorney, I asked that we increase the attorney from 10,000, which was the budget this year, which we blew through handily, to 25,000. Any discussion from the board about that number? That is an opportunity we could reduce. We got to 19,000 this year by actually making some cuts in things we wanted to do, like code updates. All right, now we could do the same thing. We could cut that back to 20 and anticipate that we have less of the kind of legal machinations we had this year. Still leaving us some money for the code updates, which I really want to do. Or leave it to 25. Comments? Mike, Vicky?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I think that's one area that we just have to be realistic. We could chip away with a few $1,000s off of that number, but I don't see us going down much below 23, 22, you know, to be realistic. And I think in terms of the tax cap, I'm not coming into this review now assuming we're going to exceed the tax cap. But I'll say right up front, public meeting or not, right up front, we have to be able to budget for what we think realistically we need to spend.
That's right.
Period. So, you know, we have to be realistic and fair about what we're going to do to these numbers and not, you know, and not try to fudge them. Then we can't fudge them. If we
Right.
know
That's
we're
what I
going to
want.
if we're going to do some code work next year, then we're going to need at least $23,000 plus you know, what we anticipate could be representing us if we go through the sale of the Thorn building, plus you know, any other incidents like that. But you know, just coming to meetings at, what is it, $500 a shot for a representative, you know.
About,
Yeah, so yeah, I think 22 or 23 we could live with, but I don't think it's realistic to go back all the way to 20.
I'd really keep it at 25 then. And by the way, Thorn building discussions where we use legal are still going to be reimbursed by the LLC, right?
Right, they
So
should be.
Other than those things, there's still a lot of things on our docket that I think we ought to have the appropriate legal support when we need it.
I agree. The only thing that just, not to be contrary, but just, I'm not sure that, you know, while George has been very flexible about allowing us to charge for legal fees concerning the Thorn building, when it goes to the actual sale, if he's going to be, you know, if we're going to be the seller, he may say, well, I'm not picking up your cost to sell us the building. In other words, you know, he may expect us to be able to actually put in for that for our own lawyer. But well, that remains to be seen.
Well, that should be
We'll
the cost of a lawyer for a closing, which ought to be about $1,000 or something shy of
see.
$1,000.
Exactly.
Okay.
No,
so that should be-
I agree, but we still
Okay.
have to assume that we may have to spend that $1,000.
Okay,
not that-
fine.
you know.
All right, so at least for this round, I agree that we should keep it at the 25.
Okay,
Go
Just
ahead.
a quick question, please.
Yes,
With regard to the Middale estate and the water issues we may have, does this include any charges we may make to an attorney who we might have to hire to help us?
I haven't considered that. I guess I would say it's going to be included in there.
Okay,
It's kind of an unknown at this point,
exactly, but.
right? It's
it could
unknown
be-
as far as the amount as well as the timing. Will it be next year? Will it be the year after? I don't know.
Is it for, Vicky, is it for water you're talking about?
The water issue, yeah.
Well, okay, no, it's the legal concern that the village has regarding this Migdal estate proposal, which my concern, I think our concern is that we need to get great assurances that there's going to be no contamination of our water supply.
Then that, we should probably create an attorney line item in the water. If it's directly related to water, it should be charged to the water fund.
Okay. That's an interesting thought. Okay. Because it is specific to the water that at least my concern is, I think we're pretty convinced that's the only issue we've got.
Well,
As a
that's, the
village?
only- yeah,
As a village?
yeah, I mean, as a village, that's my concern. We might have our own personal views on
Sure.
the idea of a district overlay, but those are not related to the village and in a legal
Right.
sense that I
I'm
would.
gonna move around the other sun's in my eye. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. All right, so let's go on then. Paychecks, we're gonna use paychecks for our payroll. Engineer consultant, I'd like to keep that at this 8,500, just again, because that's Delaware Engineering. We use them for a variety of things, including the Janet Farms proposal, as well as the wall. I don't want to change that. The records
Okay.
management. What's the
Okay,
story with that?
Tim,
Yeah,
Tim, excuse me for interrupting, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Before we run on, before the engineer consultant, is the fee that we're gonna have to put in towards the engineer study that we had proposed and sent out the application for to get a grant for most of it, is what our share of it, the 20% or whatever, part of that figure for next year, or is that an expense we're gonna incur before June 1st?
Actually, I thought it was for this year, this current fiscal year. Let me confirm that.
Because we have to, I'm thinking we have the engineer's cost to do the sidewalk estimation. We've
Right.
got the engineer's cost to do the engineer study on the sewer treatment plant. And I don't know if there's anything else that I've forgotten. Maybe some of the other trustees can jump in, but we need to cover at least those two and potentially a little bit left over for something we don't foresee, but like maybe having to do further work on the wall or something else. I don't know, but
So anyway, actually, now that you say that, the report that we agreed for them to go off and get the grant for,
mhm,
we're gonna pay 6,000, I think it is about $6,000.
yeah,
That should come out of the sewer. Because that is specifically for the infrastructure improvements to the sewer operation.
okay. All right, fine. Yeah,
That's a
so,
good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. So that's where that should go. The wall, that should come out of here, the A fund. The sidewalks also out of here. in the A
right,
fund.
so I would say $8,500 is not something we want to play with too much. We've already incurred 955.82 this year, and
Yeah,
so I'd say, yeah, at least 8,500.
okay. Okay, good point. Records management, Sarah, what's going on there? 3650, that's just, what is that?
Those are our known costs for info tax. That's our software for our tax
Oh.
and for general code.
Okay, fine. Okay, so therefore that's all set there. The Thorn building, you see, we basically zeroed that out just because we expect to get minimal revenue from the Thorn building. The Village Hall. And by the way, so we're planning on doing the oil burner replacement for the Village Hall in this current fiscal year, right, Bob?
Yeah, that's what we
Okay,
spoke
good.
about.
All right, good.
The roof will be done in April.
Good, because we're gonna use the reserve for the Village Hall for that, for 6,000 of that $7,000 bill. Okay, so the reason why the total for the Village Hall has gone down, 46,000 down to 32, is because you see the 15,000, that's the replacement of the oil burner. We don't need that for next year, okay?
Mhm.
So that covers that delta. All right, let's go on down. Central garage. Okay, so what's going on there, Bob? It dropped from 28 down to 13. I'm looking at the totals here. So that was some work you had done on the garage, the $12,000?
I have no idea why that's that way.
Did that have to do with the siding?
Not $12,000.
I don't know.
No, see, this is the line that all the repairs were in. Remember, we spoke about
Oh, that's
that?
right, you broke that out. That's right, right.
That was repairs to the trucks, repairs to the And we tried to put that in different categories.
Okay. So you're comfortable with these numbers? The totals? I think you must have moved those numbers elsewhere.
That's that's now building repair, that 2,000.
Okay. All right, fine.
And the heating and gas, I mean, there's nothing we can, those are
Right.
those are what they are.
Okay, go ahead. Central store, we'll go. Oh, central storeroom, okay, fine. So that stays about the same. 14.8 goes to 14.2 goes to 14.8. Okay, fine. Awards, that stays the same. Go on down. All right, here's insurance. We're assuming a 3% increase from the 30 to the 32. The unallocated insurance for the fire, you just moved that here from somewhere else?
Right, this is that portion for the fire department.
Okay,
This is under the workman's comp umbrella?
not
This is,
separate.
this one's general liability.
Okay, all right.
Okay, dues, so that's NICOM. Taxes and assessments, okay, contingency. All right. I'd like to throw out a contingency. Go to a zero contingency budget, which means if there's an issue in one category of making money, we've got to go to another category to find money to move over. All right, understand how it works?
Yeah, I don't mind doing that as a placeholder, but that, we have to, we have to understand that, there's, with only a couple of $1,000s in the village hall repairs maintenance fund, if something goes wrong that we got to fix, not another furnace, obviously, where we're fine there, but something else, then that we could be up against it. But that's, for now, that's fine. If we're looking to see where we need to cut out.
All right, I'd like to zero it out for now, and we'll make a note as far as if there's opportunities or we can figure out a way to find those funds. We show it as such, but until then, no. You're right, it exposes us if something happens we haven't planned on.
Right.
On the other hand, if something happens like what you talked about, $4,000 doesn't cover it anyway.
No, you're right. A roof, we wouldn't get a new roof on the village hall for 4,000. You're right.
Right, right.
But I'm just thinking, whether it's a new emergency door downstairs, we covered that. New emergency door at the gym, we've covered that.
Yep.
Something I don't know. I'm just trying to, I can't think of anything else that is so old, it's like about to go out the door, but
It's always the stuff that you didn't think about that fails on you.
exactly.
So-
So,
And it's always more than $4,600 too, by the way. I don't know what to say.
no, you're nothing I can argue with. You're absolutely
Okay.
right.
All right, and by the way, as we go through this, I like the trustees, if you've got ideas or things you want to chew on later to discuss, make up your list and we'll compare notes afterwards because we're still going to be short. But let's go through it. So the police, we got a nice email from Jared with all the details behind his projections. One thing I did send a note to Ted and Matt today. In Jared's detail, he shows $2,569 for police patrolling the carnival. My request to Ted is I want that charge to move from the police over to the fire rescue, because I think us providing police assistance at the carnival ought to be under the umbrella of a community event covered by the town and the village. I
I
think
agree.
it's different from parades, up Franklin Avenue, down Franklin Avenue, even for the carnival, the parade for Memorial Day, the fireworks, the parade for Veterans Day, all those things are kind of village-centric things. But I look at the carnival as basically a fireman's thing, and therefore we should get, as a village, reimbursed for our part of what patrolling we have of our village police. You okay with that?
I personally am. I'm fine.
Vicky, okay with that? Okay. I see the nod, Vicky.
Yes, I am.
So Karen, don't make any changes yet. I've asked Ted. What I want to do is I want to move $2,569 from Jared's professional services line at the top.
I'm sorry, how much is that? 29?
$2,569. I know
Um, what if we just created a revenue for 2560 and budgeted 2569? I mean, because we're
No,
paying them
no.
a salary.
No, here's, I want it to be under the fire rescue expenses, because that way the town pays their 85% of it. All right,
Okay, so I'll create a salary line item for fire. Is that what you're looking to do?
yeah, but wait till I hear back from Ted. All right, I just sent an
Okay.
email on that today. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine, but anyway. But so I think it makes sense logistically for the right areas being paying for their portion of this.
Okay. So, all right, so upon confirmation, I'll move
Yes.
2569 out of the police and put it in a 34101 salary line item in the fire.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Any other discussion about the elements within the police budget? We've already discussed these. I think, Mike, you've been over this with Jared already.
Right.
Okay. Here's the fire numbers. Okay, on the fire. Oh, you've already taken out the what happened? Where's the roof at?
Right here.
That's a 28.2?
Yes.
Okay. I think on this sheet you all have a copy of, that was Sarah sent out earlier, there's a number in there like 62, I think, something like that.
69,200.
69,200. All right, so the story that, the presentation by Ted said they wanted to put up a new roof, wanted to be a steel roof, 110,000 was the estimate.
Mm-hmm.
They said that the firehouse would pay half and they'd expect us, town/village, to pay the other half. I had a meeting with Ted and Steve Terletti's yesterday. First off, we reviewed the situation with the current roof, because Buffy had some questions about how come it's having problems? Why is it falling apart? Who was it that did it? Should we get any warranty reimbursement for that? The answer is we can't find out who did it. We're not really sure how long ago it was. It's in the realm of 25 to 30 years. And we're pretty convinced that there would be no way we could find anyone who could give us a warranty replacement, even if we could find out who did it or what company was manufactured the shingles. The discussion then last time was regarding steel versus asphalt. So I basically said that our board was pretty much split, I thought, between the four of us. I thought that Mike and Vicky were tending towards steel, and I and myself and Buffy were tended towards asphalt. And I said that to Steve. I said, basically, the town has the deciding vote on this. So where's the town? He's wanting us to go through the exercise as if it's a steel roof. He still needs to go to the board, the town of Washington board, to get their okay on that. So we're proceeding as if it's the steel roof. All right.
Okay.
But I told the firehouse, we can't afford it. We certainly can't afford 55,000 for the year. We can barely afford 27,500 split across 2 years. So what I asked them is, can the firehouse front the whole 110,000 to start? And then we would pay them back our 55,000 over 4 years, 14,000 a year. They're going to present that to the Board of Governors of the firehouse on April 1st to let us know. All right.
Okay.
So I'd like, for the sake of this plan, to go through the process of assuming that that's what we're going to be paying, 14,000 a year over 4 years to cover our piece of the roof. Does that make sense first?
That makes sense. I'm wondering why it's got 14,000 in the 2021 budget and then the 28,002 next to it. But is that the steel roof portion? Was that the way it goes?
All right, so what I showed is repairs and maintenance for other stuff was 14.2. And then we added on 14,000 on top of that for the discussion I just had with you.
Okay, all right,
That's how you get to the 28.2, all right?
all right, I do, okay, fine.
But I thought I understood you saying that we're not going to be paying them back for 2 years. I thought we were getting.
No, that we would pay them either in 2 payments over 2 years, which I don't like, or as I requested, 4 payments of 14,000 a year over 4 years.
Okay, so they would start immediately. Okay,
Yeah. And so I want to put in the budget for the time being the 14,000 a year, starting this coming fiscal year. All right.
Mhm.
And I'll talk about the ambulance reserve, which also is going to come into play here a little later. I'll hold off from now. All right, so there's the total for the 206 versus the 152. All right,
Right. But it's lower because the general liability is located in 1910, account 1910, and the workers' comp is located in 9040.8.
okay. Fine. All right, the next category is Ken McLaughlin and the work that Sarah does to support Ken McLaughlin and some contractual expenses. So that's flat, okay, because again, there's no salary increases included in here. The ambulance, this is Lori Olson. The top line is contractual expenses. That's materials for the volunteers, training for the volunteers, and some contractual expenses for the maintenance of some of their electronics that go into the ambulance. So that grew from 10,000 to 12,000. The next line is NDP, which we have a contractual obligation that goes up 2.5% year to year. That's why it's going to 395. All right, streets. This is Bob. He also has done the estimate for the overtime. He projects an average of $15,000 overtime on top of his base salary of 180. That's 195. I've asked Bob to assess whether we can eliminate the next line. Right, Bob? That's the money we pay for the professional guys, the contractors to come and do the lawn mowing.
Correct.
So I've asked Bob, given that per my discussion with George Whalen, we are not responsible for maintaining the Thorn building or properties this year. I've asked Bob whether or not he and his crew can handle the rest of the village. And I think he's comfortable with the rest of the village, except he wants to get closure with Scott on what's the requirements for the sewer plant and the water plant.
Correct.
And hopefully he can get Scott, who told me this morning when I talked to Scott, that he could probably get the town to do the 2 to 3 times a year service at the water plant, which leaves the sewer plant in discussion. All right, so what I'd like to do is I'd like that to be the 6,500. I want to take that out. So Bob, okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, good.
the only thing I was thinking that if Scott can't get the town to do the water plant, possibly only because of the logistics of getting the mowers up there, possibly we could have a service just to do that water plant.
All right.
Which would be a small amount.
We'll talk to Scott, because Scott said to me, his concern was the access pass to a couple of places. And he thought maybe 2, maybe 3 times a year is all he really needed. But
Okay.
have a discussion with Scott first. Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, if
a
that's
good
the
idea.
case, then that's fine.
All right, good. Now, the
And
next-
just a
yeah.
quick, if you do that and hire a service, then that would be a cost to the water and or the sewer departments funds, out of their fund. Because it's their department, it's their property.
Technically, I guess she's right.
Yeah, we've been paying
Yeah,
that other company to do both, to do the sewer and the water.
and the rest of
water
the village.
And the
right?
water tower.
And the rest of the
I
village
mean-
too, right?
Yeah, and the rest of the village.
Yeah.
Well, other
Would
than the
be like-
firehouse and the garage, we have been doing that.
All right, so look, Karen, so I'll tell you what, I like what you're saying, which is, I want all the expenses associated with water to be in the water fund and all the expenses associated with sewer to be in the sewer fund. But Bob, talk to Scott first and give me an estimate of what those costs would be. And
Okay, I'll
let's
get a
get
price.
Yeah.
I'll get a price from the company.
Only after you talk to Scott, though,
Right.
about what's required. Okay. The next one, 5,500, that's that new plow. So I want to actually just see the plow. I didn't understand what Bob was talking about, and he showed me. It's not the plow so much, it's the hydraulics, it's the attachment of the plow to the truck that's failed. This thing is 10 years old, and based on the show and tell, I support spending the 5,500 to get a new plow. All right. Any questions from this trustees about that?
No,
If you want to see what they're talking about, I recommend you go off and go check with Bob and have him give you a show and tell. It was very insightful for me just to understand what he's talking about. All right, so anyway, other expenses. Okay, there's the paving. He's planning to do that with the, that paving money is outside of the CHIPS money, right?
Yes.
30,000, yeah. Okay, that's basically repair work around the village. Contractual expenses, all right. All right, the fuel, training, okay. All right with that? And the CHIPS
Yeah,
money. Go
yeah,
ahead.
just before we leave Bob's area,
Yeah,
just checking, and this relates back to a very different question, so I'll open up the can of worms now. If we are gonna be getting back potentially up to $46,000 in the, by having those 3 reserve accounts that we've gotten through Lamont Christmas Tree and those other ones.
yeah, Haight and the 9 partners, the
Eight,
trust,
9 partners.
the trust.
The trust.
Yeah.
And this is for Karen pretty much. How do we build up our cash reserves, which I know personally, and I can't speak for any other trustee, but I am alarmed by the small amount of the cash reserves we have. How do we build up cash reserves if we are cutting out every penny we can in the budget, so that we're going right down to the last nickel, so to speak? And you had brought up the idea, Tim, of, if we get that $46,000 to transfer, instead of just putting it in the A fund as cash reserves, we could get the money for the Kubota out of that. Now, to me, that somewhat flies in the face of, if we need a new Kubota, then we need a new Kubota, and we budget for it by putting it in the budget. We don't take what little cash reserves we might be getting as a result of stuff out of interest accounts, to be able to build up our cash reserves, and then take it right out again for the Kubota. And so it kind of goes to the core of, if we really need the Kubota, do we put it in the budget period, and then just suck up the $20,000 instead of trying to jimmy $20,000 out of what we might be getting out of the other 3 accounts?
That's pretty much a legislative decision that you, as the board, can make, but I mean, you're right, Mike, you can decide to take whatever that money is and put it in the reserve account, or the different reserve accounts. Or,
Well, first off, my thought is, this is not the year to be adding in a $22,000 expense for a new Kubota. And so therefore, if we can't buy it some other way, then we got to figure out a way to make the current thing last another year. All right. On the other hand, the money from the trust, which totals, I think, $43,000. In my mind, first off, the Lamont Christmas Tree Trust, I think is pretty specific, that we'll have to use that for Christmas decorations.
I agree.
That's 2,500. So that one, I'm pretty clear. The other 2 trusts, it's basically for general improvement of the village. And in my mind, to have a plow, a reliable plow, to plow the sidewalks in the middle of winter, mainly in the business areas, but also for the rest of the village, that falls in the category of something we should use that money for.
I'm not saying it's a bad use of the money. I guess it goes back to me, and what it goes back to me for is, Karen can help explain this in terms of how legally you do this. How do you build up cash reserves for emergencies that you don't anticipate happening? If basically you are, you're cutting everything right down to to the bone when you're putting the budget together in the first place. We're leaving ourselves very little wiggle room, and you know, the net result has been when we did have some kind of you know, thing that we had to do, we've gone to the cash reserves, and we can't do that anymore. We literally can't do that anymore. So how do we build enough money into a budget so that we don't have to take out a short-term loan every time we've got an emergency?
All right, so Mike, let me answer that. The way we do it is, you're right, we build a budget that's realistic and that then has some buffer in it, okay? However, we're coming off the last year in which Karen showed us we were $100,000 in the red, all right? So this year, I'm focused on making sure we have a budget that we know we can make, all right? That's why I want the overtime estimates in there. I want us to go and make sure that we understand every entry in here. This is gonna be a budget that we can make. Next year, we can talk about improving our cash reserves, okay? This year, we need a budget that works first, that we can make, all right? Now, by the way, on the side, I want to tell you that Karen has a plan, maybe Karen, you can jump in here, for recovering from the water fund and from the sewer fund, the money that is owed back to the general fund. Right, Karen?
Right. We're working
therefore, in my
to,
mind-
with the one in, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, so.
Yeah, I mean, we're
the
working
first
to
step for me is
see
to
where
get a
we're gonna
budget in place
be.
that's gonna work.
Hey, guys, decide who goes first.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Karen, go ahead.
I'm gonna mute.
All right, so, Sarah, did you do that? Okay, so, we're working on a plan. We're kind of riding right up to April and May to see how we're doing in the water and sewer, and then forecasting if we're gonna make it to the July billing in the water and sewer. In addition to that, paying back what the water owes the general, what the sewer owes the general. If we do that, those monies coming in to repay the general is going to increase our fund balance because it's going to be cash coming in. And in answer to your question, Mike, the last several years, every time your expenses are more than your revenue, your fund balance goes down. So, I mean, you need a couple of years where your revenue is going to be more than your expenses. So I do agree with Tim, and maybe just right now it's to create a very reasonable budget. And then next year, you talk about budgeting to go to these reserve accounts, to go to reserve for this equipment and for these projects.
Right.
But I think you need to just kind of just take a stance on getting a budget that's more in line with what's actually happening.
A budget that's makeable, okay?
Right.
So Mike, to answer your question, Karen just identified to you what we're doing to try to increase our reserves, which is not coming out of the A fund, but it's coming from money that's owed to the A fund from the water and sewer. Okay, so we're gonna fix that problem this year. And this year, we're gonna have a budget that we can actually make. And next year, we'll talk about reserve funds and adding to our unrestricted fund balance. Okay, but we can't afford it this year.
Okay, I get
Right.
it. I want to make sure that we're, that we're going to actually be thinking about, I'm not trying to work real hard to go beyond the tax cap number, I'm just trying to make sure that we end up actually budgeting for what we're going to pay for. And that's where the Kubota came in. I'm like, okay, we got a $20,000 item. If we have to spend it, we have to spend it. And I don't want to get into a head of saying, well, we can take it from this and take it from that. No, if we need the new Kubota, then we pay for the new Kubota and, endure the whatever criticism we might get for, exceeding the tax cap in the process if it's absolutely necessary. That's all.
So Mike, first off, let's get the 40,000 that we're over down very close to zero before we even have that discussion. All right. I'm not going to add to our gap of 40,000 to 60,000 by adding the Kubota. We can't afford it. Okay.
Okay.
And I would have
I'm
Pacific-
ready. I'm ready to move on. That's fine.
All right,
And,
fine.
what is that? Can you go back to
Sure.
a little bit, please?
Yeah.
What is the 28.5?
Is that your
That's
salt?
contractual. That's
That's-
like supplies and contractual expenses, supplies.
Okay, that is supplies. What about things like, I'm not seeing, I know we couldn't break it down, but I'm not seeing things like what category, the tree removal and infrastructure and street sweeping and cleaning and all that. Is that in that?
Hold on, let me. Yeah, I think that we did not break it down on the main working budget. I put up the highway tab, which is the one that we broke down the supplies in. So it is part of that.
It is part of what?
It is part of that 28.5.
Okay,
Because I
Sa-
show 18.
that's the garage, yeah.
That's garage stuff, right?
Oh, that's garage. Okay, let's move down to, okay. So down here is where you wanted it separated for vehicle repair maintenance, and then supplies.
Yeah, that's good. I saw, okay, that 28. So I'm guessing that 28 is then the tree removal, infrastructure and cleaning of and painting and cleaning of the streets.
All right, so I don't want you to be guessing. You're supposed to know and
I
tell us.
was gonna
Well-
say, I'd have to rely on you for that to break that 28.5 down.
Okay,
So maybe talk to Nicole.
yeah,
If you worked with Nicole on it, then she might have it separated out for you.
Because you broke out, the central garage is all your repair and maintenance stuff for all your vehicles, right? Central garage?
yeah.
Right. I think
Okay,
you did it
that is, okay, I just did the quick math and that's exactly what that is.
It is? Okay, fine.
That's
So that
tree service, infrastructure and street and basin cleaning. Yeah, that adds up.
Okay, fine. All right, good.
Good, thank you.
All right, there's the chips again. All right, good. Snow removal, that the professional services line, that's Matt, who does the sidewalks. He's gonna be doing it by hand this year because we're not gonna get him a tractor.
You'll be right behind him with the other shovel, right? Right, Tim?
Okay, contractual equipment, that's the salt, right, Bob? 33,000?
That was, yeah,
Salt,
salt and repairs to plows or any
Okay.
snow related equipment.
All right, good. All right, moving down, lights has gone up from 28,000 to 36,000. I guess that's the number we've gotten, so I can't argue with that, I guess. Tennis courts, zoning, that's Regina. Okay, planning, that's also Regina. A little more activity in planning than zoning. Okay, go ahead. Refuge and garbage, okay, go ahead. Trade sheet, shade tree, 2,500.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead. State retirement. Now, fire and police, this is just police retirement, right? The
This
fire
is
retirement is
the,
elsewhere.
right, this is
This-
just police.
Yeah, it's just police. Okay. You can't change it to just say police because every time I get myself wrapped around. that.
Well, we can, but the official name of this code
All
is
right,
fire
fine.
and police.
Okay, fine. Social Security, so these are legit numbers. We've got workers' comp, we broke it out between village and
Right.
fire,
And this is where that fire.
the rest of the fire, right? Okay, medical insurance, we talked about that. That's going up to 79,500. That's medical and dental. And then for HRA, I told her to zero that out because we've currently got 36,000 in there as per discussion I had with you guys last meeting. we average spend 15,000 a year. So I'm gonna end the current fiscal year with no more than 20,000. And since we're overspent by 36,000, I expect we won't spend more than 6,000 between now and the end of the fiscal year. There should be money that we can move out of HRA over into the general fund and still end up with 20,000 in the HRA account. Okay, and just so we all are aware up front, that's the estimated usage of the HRA. The maximum we could spend is 42,000 if all 5 of the insured employees use the maximum HRA. That's what we're liable for, is 42,000, but our history is we spent 15,000 on the average. So we're gonna put 20,000 in the checking account, which requires us to put nothing in the budget for this year. Everybody clear on that?
Mhm.
All right. Okay. All right, so we're done, not so fast. Let's go through the debt services.
Oh, go ahead.
Go back up. All right, the oil spill, that's with us for the next 10 years, principal and interest. The police vehicle, we got a new vehicle, so there's the principal, and the interest is further on down. So that's about 9,000 we've added to the budget. Fire department pickup. There's a principal, and the interest is further below. Here's the new dump truck. Oh, no, that's the old dump truck, is it? Yeah, it's the old
This is
dump
the
truck,
Old dump truck, which
Which
goes
was-
to 23.
which we're paying off through 2023. And here's the new dump truck, 23,500, plus the interest of about 1,000. So the 2 vehicles we picked up have added about $33,000 to our budget. The new police vehicle and the new dump truck. Principal and interest add about $33,000 to our budget from last year. All right. And we're still paying off the the 2019 highway vehicle and and Ted's pickup truck and the oil spill. All right. In hindsight, I wish we had made all those capital expenditures, but we did, and that's where we are. Questions from the staff, from the trustees on that?
No,
Okay, that is what it is. Okay, moving on. Go on down to the reserves. So because we're in such financial straits, oh, wait, no, go back
I'm
up to
sorry,
the
it
reserves.
just took off on me.
So on the reserves, you see we have allocated for the ambulance, for the equipment, for the fire truck, for the streets, for the police vehicle, and for the hall restoration. And I've asked that we zero out all those except the 60,000, which we were contractually obligated to put towards the replacement of the next apparatus. All right. For this year, I want to zero out all those other reserves because we are in such dire straits. Any questions or comments from the trustees on that?
Yeah, the only question I have would be, I don't know what our final figure is gonna come out to be, but at some point down the road, and it may be next year, because as you said, we're trying to get what's our spendable budget, but we have to recognize the fact that putting $3,000 aside into the village hall to do restorations of the village hall is a joke, because we need windows, we need insulation, we need a whole lot of things, and the building's been ignored for years because starting in Laura's administration, she was intent on trying to sell it and it didn't happen. And Rod's administration was the first time we actually started paying attention to the things that, needed to be done, and then started investing back in the building again. So just want to go on record and saying, if we take out money for the restoration, we're going to be putting it back a lot sooner than you might think.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, we're going to use the 6,000 that's in the restoration fund now towards the replacement of the roof on the back end of the building, which is going to
Right.
cost $7,000. All right, so that's a good use of that fund, and we will start rebuilding it. But again, that's a discussion for next year when we are more in a healthier position.
The only other thing that I think it may have to do with budget, so I'm sorry if I'm, out of line for talking about it now, but I think Vicky's proposal about looking at our assets that we have, not just building wise, but the assets we have and, you know, the planned use and what we're going to be spending on them going forward over a period of years is going to be really important. So even though we all laugh when Ted said it at the last meeting, we really should know how many more years are we going to get out of the roof on the village hall? How many other things, so that we can start realistically putting a reasonable amount of money aside, as opposed to, you know, constantly putting our finger in the dike every time something else springs a leak.
Yep. That goes along with the discussion about building up our reserves. And as I just said earlier, we got to first get ourselves above water, and then we can start talking about that. All right. Okay, so is that the end of the A fund? What else you got down there?
That is it.
Okay, so based on the discussions, how far off are we?
23,452.
And that's without any raises.
Right.
Correct.
23,452. That, why am I surprised how good that number is?
I think
Given that the numbers,
we increased the, I think we increased the building revenue a little bit. We took out the 6,500. We took out the contingency.
we took out the 10,000 HRA.
Yeah, that was out. What else? Oh, we increased the fire contract by our estimated calculation for what that's going to be.
Okay. All right. Any topics that the trustees want to discuss about work items that we can go look at? Maybe that's a discussion we could have between now and Wednesday. What I want to do is I want to figure out where we can go look to get the 23,452 out of the budget. And it's got to be between the front office, the highway, and the police. And I think we've got some good stuff from Bob already. So I guess I want to focus on the front office and the police. Any ideas?
Not from the numbers we saw today. Like I said, you know, it is what it is, but
Let me ask you this, Karen, what, if we leave it as it is, this 23,452,
Well, then you're over the tax cap.
right? What's the percent that we're over? So 23,000, it's the, again, the revenue, the tax levy is what? It's 991.
Yeah.
So this would be going from, well, first of all, we're going to add in the salary increases too. Okay, fine.
So it's about 2.3% over the levy, the tax cap.
And the levy is about 1.3%. So that's about a 4% increase. Right?
Over the levy from before.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, okay. All right.
and what's the tax increase if we add in the 10,000 for a 2% salary increase?
Well, that makes the gap 33,452.
Right.
Then it's over 33,000.
Yeah.
So what would the percent of the increase be there?
Oh, just a second.
Well, why isn't it just 33,452 over?
3.3%.
3.3%.
Yeah.
For a total, including 1.3 4.3 to 4.6%.
You mean increase in tax? What are you
Yeah,
saying?
I'm sorry, the increase in the tax levy, 4.6%.
Correct.
Let me do it this way. If we're 33,452 over, plus 991,500 is the tax cap limit, that'd give us a total revenue of 1,024,952. And I'm going to divide that by the current levy is 976, right?
Correct.
That gives us a 5% increase. If we did this as is, it'd be a 5% increase over the last year
Mhm.
versus a tax cap of 1.3%. All right, well, look, I think this needs some sidebar discussions.
All right, and you're looking, the 10% would be a 2% salary
Yeah.
increase?
Well,
Okay.
I need you to go back and verify that, the 10,000. You know, what is this, what is the increase for a 1% increase, for 2% increase, for a 3% increase?
Okay,
Just so we know what those numbers are. All right, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send out to the trustees some thoughts I've got as far as where we can look. And based on that, we'll decide what we want to do at Wednesday's meeting, but I'd like to button this thing up pretty quickly. If not Wednesday, then certainly by next Monday. Next Monday would be the 29th, and we're still targeted for a public hearing on the 7th of April, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right, good. All right, anything else we need to discuss tonight? I think I'm about ready to wrap this meeting up. There's someone else that joined. Anyone else have a comment or question? Who was the person that joined?
That
was
was the resident.
Okay, and she's gone?
Yes,
Oh, okay. We bored her to death.
apparently.
All right. Okay, so Bob, thanks for your time. And thanks for everyone else putting this together. Great job, Karen and Sarah, for pulling this together. It's very easy for us to see the problems we have because of all the work you do. So thank you so much. All right. And with that, I'm going to we'll sign off, end the meeting. Can I get a motion to end the meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Again,
all those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
you.
Thank you.
good night.
Good night.